That is a great song.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really pick one.
No, you
Don't
can't.
disagree with
Well, I
that.
can. Mighty Love, but could it be I'm Falling in Love? Also, One of a Kind, Love Affair. Those are three
strong songs.
supersonic songs.
Yeah.
Strong song.
And you put the OJs in with them. You got a heck of a
You put the OJs in with them.
You got a show.
All right.
You know, the stylistics, not bad.
You got a show.
The OJs, man.
OJs.
Okay.
All right. You know,
Washington Post.
let's read from an op-ed, coincidentally, from a former member of the OJs. In fact, he's the lead vocalist on
EJ?
Soul Train.
EJ.
Yeah. EJ Dion.
All right. Obama as an Alien by EJ Dion.
Dion.
They say that President Obama is a Muslim, but if he isn't, he's a secularist who is waging war on religion. On some days he's a Nazi, but on most others he's merely a socialist. His especially creative opponents see him as having a Kenyan anti-colonial worldview, while the less adventurous say that he's an elitist who spent too much time in Cambridge, Hyde Park, and other excessively academic precincts. Whatever our president is, he is never allowed to be a garden variety American who plays basketball and golf and has a remarkably old-fashioned family life in the manner we regularly recommend it to our kids, got ahead by getting a good education. Please forgive this outburst. It's simply astonishing that a man in his 4th year as our president continues to be the object of the most extraordinary paranoid fantasies.
John Harwood, we have people on this show and in the race that can't even say he's a Christian.
I mean, really. This is
after he says he's a Christian a million
ignorance.
times.
I think that's true, but I do...
You think what's true? That he's a Christian?
No, I think you're right that, and EJ is right, that some of this stuff is crazy.
Oh, it's insane.
I will say, to the extent that they're talking about Santorum and phony theology, I think Santorum got hosed on that. Because if you look
Do you really?
I do. If you look at that tape, he's talking about environmentalism in the same way that many Democrats say that tax cutting, for example, is a Republican theology. I think it was a comparable statement to that.
He's also made suggestions in the past, though, that you can't be a liberal and a Christian at the same time.
Well,
he's danced.
I'm with you on that.
He has danced around this territory a good bit. But you've interviewed the president a good bit. And anybody that's been in his presence understands he's many things, but he is not a radical.
Oh, absolutely right.
This guy, in many ways, and I quoted Andrew Sullivan before, who said, take your pick. He can't be both Karl Marx and Jimmy Carter.
I think he's a moderate liberal. There's no question that he is a family guy. That is obvious.
Yeah,
it comes out of him
I mean, the only criticism, if you could find one, is that he wants a normal life in the White House. I mean, seriously.
Exactly.
And
he
John,
just really wants a normal life.
You've talked to former staffers, I know I have too, who've complained at times that when it's 6 o'clock, if the president has his choice, he's out of that Oval Office, he's marching upstairs, and he's sitting down and he's having dinner with his wife and his children. He is, again, he is many things. I disagree with him economically. I disagree with his foreign policy.
But don't play these.
But for
you
people
could not live your family values more faithfully than Obama has as president.
You cannot. You cannot. So it's fascinating, though, that his political enemies, John, are so hung up with this that they end up aiming at him and shooting themselves.
Look, I'm not one, who kind of just reflexively cries racism, but there is
good. Why don't we just leave it at that?
But EJ's point, though, is the point that EJ is making. I think it's true. There's some category. This thing is going on for 4 years. This notion of, as you said, there was someone on the show the other day trying to basically insinuate that the Muslim faith still claims Barack Obama because he was born in a Muslim household, and that Barack Obama's policies are, he's given a free pass to Muslim extremists around the world, and it's leading to slaughter of Christians. He's talking about Sharia law. There is a racial, for some number of the president's enemies who talk about him in this way, who cast him as in the way that we're talking about. There is some undertone of persistent racial animosity that I think fuels that.
Where were you in 1992? Were you still in school, or were you reporting?
I was reporting.
You were reporting?
Yeah.
I challenge you to go back and listen to what Republicans said about Bill Clinton in 92 and 93, 94. I promise you this, you talk to Bill Clinton,
I agree.
and he will show you the political scars on his back that are every bit as deep as George W. Bush's from the other side. Let me finish.
They accused Bill Clinton of murder.
of murder.
I was going to
let me finish this point because
Hold on, guys.
it's important. Hold on. You threw race on the table.
Yes.
I want to take it off, and I want to take it off this way because you're exactly right. One of the leading Christian conservatives in America had a videotape series accusing Bill Clinton of murder. You give me a conspiracy about Barack Obama, I will give you an equal conspiracy thrown out there about Bill Clinton.
But Joe, I don't disagree with you that there are haters on both sides who have cast conspiratorial aspersions on presidents of both parties. There's no question about that. But the character of this particular kind of question, there was never a question about, is Bill Clinton an American? There were questions about whether he was a criminal. There were questions about a lot of things. The right wing attacked him in vicious ways. No doubt about that. But there's a different character to this attack on Obama.
I remember in 1992, Republicans suggesting, the right suggesting that Bill Clinton was a spy for the Soviet Union because there was this time that he was over in the USSR that they couldn't track it down. And he had gone to Oxford to be recruited by the KGB and to become president and to bring down this country. You remember that as well.
I do. What the passport file thing was all about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, there's no doubt. There's some racial element to this, but I tend to agree with Joe on this. I think every president, if you look at the great presidential historians, starting with Dalek and Doris Kearns Goodman, they will all tell you that every president, John Meacham, every president believes that he was under unbelievable assault, that it was unfair, that it was vicious. And the fact that we now have an African-American president, it shouldn't be a surprise that there's some element of race to it. But at the end of the day,
that's all I'm saying.
But at the end of the day, if he were white, Barack Obama, and was traveling down the path that Republicans believe he's traveling down, they'd be criticizing him with the same kind of language.
But not as a closet Muslim.
Right. So
perhaps not.
That's all I'm saying.
That element I agree with.
Well, John, you remember in the 80s, George H.W. Bush was accused of running drugs for the CIA, and some even suggested that a congresswoman actually suggested that they were shipping it to South Central L.A. to African Americans, and then they were funneling that money. I mean,
you mean that didn't happen?
There are these crazy conspiracy theories that surround every president, and unfortunately, that's just part of the game. The president, 4 years into it, he's becoming a bit more zen about this, isn't he? He's not. Every attack on talk radio isn't penetrating the way it did 4 years ago, is it?
Look, I have been struck by how zen he's been about this since he ran the first time. And look, he won the biggest majority that any president won in 20 years. He's leading in the polls now. He is he's pretty politically healthy at this moment. So I think a little perspective on how the whole country sees this as compared to this small number of people who have got this kooky stuff that they push around.
John Herwood, great to see you. Thank you very much.
Wait, hold on a second. Listen to this song. It's Harwood's song. This is the Spinner song he picks.
Yep. It's a good one.
I gotta say, it is. You can't dispute this is a great one.
That's great. We all done?
You think the Spinners are a sewing class in Lancaster, Pennsylvania?
Nothing wrong with that.
You have no idea.
Did you even know who the Spinners were before Joe brought it up?
What's that?
What?
Did you even know who the Spinners were before Joe brought it up?
I'll
bet you never listened to this album.
No, I've heard these songs. I have.
At least once or twice.
Yes, I think
I was at a meeting in Baltimore yesterday, and the woman I met with, the group I met with, the only thing they commented about the show is they love your music. She said, I'm turning on, they just listen.
Turn it up.
They don't like us?
No, they do, but they love the music.
Okay. Still ahead, Governor Chris Christie. Former presidential candidate John Huntsman will be on set as well. Keep it right here on Morning Joe, brewed by Starbucks.